Okay, so there's the one recipe that I gave to Sister Olsen. It's called fårikål, which means just lamb and cabbage. And it's in a nutshell what traditional Norwegian food is. It's really basic. It's just lamb. You cook it in cabbage for a really long time. You season it just a little bit with some peppercorns, and that's pretty much it. And I don't know, if you find the right people, they can do it really well and it tastes really good. But I remember we had a mission leader in one of my areas, and he was English. And he complained about the Norwegian food all the time. And he said, just basically, it's pretty much just peasant food. And they've learned to cook it really well. That's it. Because Norway for a long time was just really poor, and that's what they lived off of, was just really basic stuff. A lot of people have heard of lutefisk. It's kind of this really just dry fish that they've kept out for a long time. It kind of has the texture of jelly. And everyone thinks it's the most disgusting thing. A couple people like it every once in a while. But there's this story that kind of describes, just Norwegian food and how they got all their traditions and everything. And no one really knows the complete story of how lutefisk was invented. But it has something to do with, oh yeah, they were sitting out and they were drying the fish and it got mixed with lye somehow. A lot of people say, oh, there was a fire or something. But in the end, it always comes down to, and they were too poor to just throw it out, so they ate it. And I guess that really just kind of describes the food of Norway just in general, or at least the traditional food, is just they were poor and they did the best with it that they could. So
I don't really know exactly what lye is.
yeah, I think it's some kind of poison. Use it for either cleaning. It's pretty much just a cleaning product, or I don't know what it is, really, to be completely honest. But it's poisonous and it's not meant to be mixed with any kind of food. But for dried fish, for some reason, it works. So other than that, it's just very first world. They have supermarkets and everything over there, and they sell pretty much what we sell here. So I mean, it was very rare that we got just a traditional Norwegian meal. Other than that, we were eating like tacos and salads and pretty much whatever else when we went over to members' houses to eat, or just if we ate with people. That's the thing. Norwegians are very friendly, so oftentimes people would be very just, they didn't want to hear about the gospel, but they'd be more than happy to have us come into their homes and, just invite us to have something to eat. And so, we'd take the opportunity a little bit, just like, well, maybe there's something here. Let's just try to get to talking to them a little bit, try to get to know them. And so through that, we just got a lot of very good, just cultural experiences. Got a couple of investigators out of, just talking to people, just out of them being friendly. But yeah, there's pinnekjøtt, which is a kind of meat that they cook for a really long time as well. They're really big on just cooking everything for a long time. But it's mostly bone, and they eat a large part of the bone too. Mostly because, yet again, going back to that, they were poor and they didn't know what else to do with it, so they ate it. So, I don't know, but I've heard, if you salt it well and if you prepare it right, then it's very good. Other than that, during the summer, they really like to go out and grill things. So we got a lot of hot dogs over the summer. Other than that, they're really big into microwave pizzas too. Don't know why, but it exploded over there. They love it.
Norwegian food. There's a lot of fish, obviously, because it's right there on the ocean. You eat a lot of fish. The best thing, my favorite dish is, it's called a kjøttkaker. It's like a big meatball. If you've ever been to IKEA, like they have the small like Swedish meatballs, but in Norway they eat them a lot bigger. And you have potatoes, and you eat like a berry sauce. It's called tyttebær. And you mix it all together and eat it. And that's my favorite. It's just got like onions and meat, and it's really good. But you eat a lot of fish there. Those are kind of the main traditional dishes that you'll get everywhere. But you'll have all like the American pizza and French fries and hamburgers. They eat that all over there also. And trying to think for weird things I ate. They have a traditional Christmas dish called lutefisk, and it's like a fish that's cooked in, like, you let it sit and ferment for a while, and it gets like jello-y, and then you put it in the oven, and so like when you like touch it, it like jiggles back and forth like jello, and I thought it was disgusting. I couldn't eat a whole lot of it, but they put like bacon on it and it makes it a little better, but it's super salty and just not a texture that I like. And I love fish, so it was weird that I wouldn't like that. But I don't think I think it was a traditional dish back when, because not a whole lot of Norwegians eat it today. They have another weird thing. I ate whale one time, a whale steak, and reindeer. Reindeer was really good. The whale was a little weird. It was bloody. It was really bloody when they cooked it. It was kind of gross watching them cook it. I think as a missionary, one of the main foods you'll eat there is because you're always on the go. They have these little kebab stands. It's like a Middle Eastern food that they have. It's kind of like their version of fast food, and you eat it like in a pita bread. It's not Norwegian at all, but they're just everywhere, and all the Norwegians eat it. And missionaries, at least all the missionaries when I was there, loved it, and we would eat it all the time for lunch. It's like a lamb in a pita, and you eat it with a fork and a bunch of vegetables in it and some sauce that I have no idea what's in the sauce, but it was good. Desserts, they have really good desserts. My favorite it's called riskrem. It's like a rice cream with they put like a strawberry sauce over it, and so it's like rice and a lot of whipped cream basically. And I thought it was my favorite. They have a lot of cakes and things there. Around Christmas, they have a lot of specialty cakes that you eat. Christmas is a huge deal there. Drinks, they mostly, every family you'll eat with they call it soft. It's just basically a concentrate of something really thick, and you have it on the table, and they have water, and you just pour a little bit of the soft into the drink and then put water for the rest. And comes in every flavor ever, but that's usually what every family drinks. It's kind of like a juice type thing.
Staple foods in Norway are fish and potatoes. So if you don't like fish when you're going to Norway, you'll like it when you leave. They have the best fish in the world. It's fresh, it's delicious, and you'll learn to love it. So for every meal, they'll have either fish or some kind of meat, like beef or chicken. But there's always potatoes and vegetables, and they always put some kind of sauce on it. So a lot of people would say that Norwegian food is bland, but I feel like they're just, they don't have as many strong spices there. So I had one Norwegian try and explain to me that they thought ketchup was spicy. So that kind of gives you an insight of how they view their food. It's very mild, but it fills you up, and it's delicious. So they have lots of different kinds of traditional food for Christmas. A lot of lamb, like salted lamb or pork that's roasted, or the infamous lutefisk. It's fish that's soaked in a poison, lye, and then they dry it out and cook it. And it's disgusting, but it's something that all Norwegian people love, whether they like it, the taste or not. So it's something that they're really traditional with their food. So some foods they'll say, no, we don't eat that until Christmas, and they'll stick to that. They eat a lot of soup because it gets kind of cold there, and there's nothing better to warm yourself than soup. That's really it. Their staple food is fish and potatoes. I had more potatoes on my mission than I'll ever care to admit. But there's worse things to eat than potatoes.